Hello everyone, this is Deborah at Diva Lady Designs, and I'm so happy you're joining me today. Today I want to show you a really cool technique that you can use to create a stunning background, which you can then turn into many different cards. Now I love taking supplies I have in my craft room and using them in different techniques. Sometimes I create cards for no other reason than to try out a technique, and that's what happened with the cards I'm showing you today. This technique uses a white pigment ink pad to add depth and dimension to a die-cut background. I'll be making 2 or 3 of these backgrounds today and then show you how to turn them into 3 different cards. There are many ways to use a white pigment ink pad, but today I'm just going to focus on one technique. I'll try out the other techniques in future videos. So let's get creating. For my background, I'm using the Simon Says stamp Tattered Leaves die. I purchased this a few months ago but never got around to using it. I love the versatile shape of the leaves on this die. I cut 9 leaves out of dark green cardstock, and I'll layer 3 of them together to create one thick leaf. I need the thickness for this particular technique. To glue them together, I'll use my favorite glue, Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. I really like the precision tip that comes with the bottle. It's great for gluing little die cuts. Now these leaves are rather intricate, so I want to show you a tip I discovered on how to glue together intricate die cuts. You'll see that I apply the glue to only a few leaves at a time. I discovered that by applying glue in sections, I didn't get it all over the die cuts, and it was a lot easier to glue them together. You should have seen the mess I made earlier before I discovered this tip. I'll continue to glue the layers together until I have 3 thick leaves. It doesn't take a long time, and believe me, the result is worth it. When you're finished creating your leaves, begin to position them on a piece of cardstock of the same color as your leaves, cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. You can play around with the positioning, moving your leaves as desired. Cut off the edges of any leaves that are hanging off the edge, but save them. You're going to need them to finish your panel. Now you could use this finished background as is, and I will probably do that for a future card. But here I'm going to use some white pigment ink to create a wintry background. I'm using Hero Art's Unicorn White Pigment ink because that's what I have in my craft room. I know there are other brands which are just as wonderful, so use whatever you have. Using a soft blending brush, I'll gently rub the white pigment ink over the tops of the leaves. You can add as much or as little pigment ink as you like. On this particular panel, I use about a medium amount of ink. I created another panel on which I used a lot more ink, and it gave a much wider, softer background. And then I even did a third panel where I only put a very little bit on top. And you'll see a sample of each of those in the cards in this video. I love how the white adds softness to the leaves, and you'll see that there ends up being a small dark halo around each die cut, which makes the leaves pop. Okay, now that we have our background, let's make the cards. I took one of my panels and cut it diagonally, corner to corner. I'm going to use one piece on this card and save the other piece for another one. For my first card, I decided to use this adorable dancing deer from the Spellbinders Tinsel Time collection. I just recently discovered the Dancin collection, and it's brilliant. All you have to do is hang the legs by a foam dot behind the body, and voila, you have a dancing element. I'll show you how it works in a sec. The set comes with 11 dies, and you can mix and match the colors to create your deer, Santa, snowman, elf, whatever. And that's what I did here. I cut the dies using different colors of cardstock and then put them together to create a deer that matches my card. Now here's the secret to the dancing mechanism. On the back of the body, you place a small foam dot. The leg piece has a hole which fits right over the foam. So when you adhere it down, the foam dot holds the leg piece in place so that it can swing freely. So cute! I did find a trick to working with this set. Glue the main headpiece onto another piece of cardstock and then trim the edge off around the head area. That way you have a mat underneath that headpiece and you can glue in the eyes and cheek dots without any trouble. For my card, I chose a white head body with lighter brown arms and legs. It was a lot of fun to create, and I've created many different colors of deer. And this is how it turned out. Isn't he adorable? I decided to make this a holiday-themed thank you card. I cut a thin piece of gold cardstock and glued it along the diagonal edge of the green panel. Then I chose a sentiment from my stash and then started to add berries to the leaves. I'm applying some of Spellbinders' new red shiny sequins to the leaves to create the holly berries. I love these new sequins. They come in red, green, silver, and gold, and I'll be getting all of them before the season is over. I love the solid look of them and how they shine. Now I just need to finish adhering my deer to the card. And look how he dances! To finish my card, I glued the panel to the front of a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch white card base. And there's card number 1. Look how the green background pops around the leaves. I love the look of this technique. Remember the other half of the background? Well, let's use it to create this gorgeous card with the same design, but a totally different feel. For this card, I'm using Spellbinders' Holiday Blooms collection. It's just like the Be Bold Blooms, only for the holidays. It has a ton of dies to create all kinds of floral blooms, leaves, and clusters. I decided to use the poinsettia flowers, one of the branches, and the matching flowers. I'm going to cut the branches from the same green cardstock I used for the leaves, and the flowers from Simon Says Stamp matte gold cardstock. I'll cut 2 of each die to put together my flowers. This card is much easier to put together than the last one. I just glued the flowers to the branches, placing the glue on the back of each branch and laying the flower on top. I created 2 of these. Then I layered my poinsettia flowers to give the main flower a dimensional look. For this card, I'm using some baubles from Studio Katia. I just ordered a bunch of these and I love the shiny enamel look of them, and they come in a bunch of different colors. I adhered my leaf background to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch white card base, layering a strip of the same gold cardstock along the diagonal edge. If you look closely, you'll see that this leaf background is wider than on the previous card. That's because this is the one I created with more pigment ink. I just wanted to show you the different looks you can achieve with this technique. Now I'll arrange my flowers into a floral spray pattern and glue them down. You could use more flowers along the edge or even put flowers on the leaves, but I wanted to keep this one a little simpler. For my sentiment, I decided to use one of my favorite holiday sets, Yana's Christmas Sentiments. This set is a foil and die set. For this card, I'm going to use Season's Greetings and foil it using Spellbinders green foil. This color foils beautifully. I also cut 3 additional die cuts of the sentiment and layered it behind the foiled piece. It gives wonderful depth and dimension. After I adhere the sentiment, I decided to add some holly berries to the card using the same Studio Katia dots I used for the center of the flower. And after everything is glued down, I just need to cut off the gold overhanging cardstock. Why I waited until this point to do that, I don't know. And here's card number 2. I used the same leaf background, the same card design, but achieved a totally different look. I also made a third card, which I want to show you, and which uses the background on which I only applied a small amount of white pigment ink. For this one, I die cut a bunch of small flowers from one of my Spellbinder sets and glued them on the leaves. I really like the pretty feel of this one. So there you have it, 3 different cards using the same background. I encourage you to try this white pigment ink technique. You can use it with any die-cut shape to create fun backgrounds for your cards. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up just under the video. I've linked all products used in the description below, as well as putting in a link to my blog. If you would like to see more of my videos, please subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me today at Diva Lady Designs.